On February 17th, 2024, MrBeast dropped a video where he reintroduced his latest venture, the Feastables chocolate bar. And in that video, he throws in a taste test at the end. And let me tell you, it raised some serious eyebrows. Why? Because there's just no way Feastables could lose, right? Well, there is something MrBeast isn't telling you. MrBeast claimed that his chocolate is the best ever. To back up his bold claim, MrBeast decided to put his chocolate to the test with a blind taste test. Now, I'm all good for good food experiments, and taste tests are no stranger to his channel, but when Feastables kept coming out on top, he started smelling something fishy. As we watched the video, it became pretty clear. Everything, from how the chocolates were arranged to the order they were tasted, seemed tailor-made to ensure Feastables snagged the victory. Sure, the contestants had no clue which chocolate was which, but Jimmy's team had set it up so Feastables was practically guaranteed to win. And then, to make matters worse, they made it tricky for anyone to fact-check their work after the fact. Pretty suspicious, right? Now, am I saying that MrBeast deliberately rigged the test? Nah, not necessarily. But his team? Well, that's a different story. First things first, why did MrBeast opt for a blind taste test in the first place? Was it just a spur-of-the-moment idea from his team? Nope. Blind taste tests are a staple for food companies looking to gather data and compare their products to those of their competitors. By stripping away all branding and packaging, the idea is to eliminate any bias or favoritism towards a particular brand and focus solely on taste. One of the most famous examples, the Pepsi Challenge of 1983. Pepsi hit up supermarkets across America, asking folks to blind taste test Pepsi against the arch-rival Coca-Cola. Now, what do you know? Pepsi, the underdog, came out on top, shocking everyone and proving that even giants like Coke could take a hit. Naturally, Pepsi flaunted this victory in their advertising, while Coca-Cola was left fuming. Coca-Cola wasn't about to let Pepsi bask in its blind taste test victory without a fight. They started firing off press releases, questioning the legitimacy of Pepsi's taste test and even considering slapping them with a lawsuit. But hey, that blind taste test taught us something important. Branding isn't everything, folks. Sometimes it can really mess with our perceptions. The Pepsi Challenge shook things up big time. Pepsi's market share shot up from a measly 6% to a solid 14%, proving that people had been sleeping on it in favor of Coke all this time. Now let's circle back to today's topic. In case you missed the video, Jimmy lined up 4 mystery chocolates for the taste test: Feastables, Lindt, Icelandic chocolate, and Cadbury. Now, here's where things get a bit fishy. Not all the chocolates were created equal. While Feastables, Icelandic, and Cadbury were all milk chocolates, Lindt decided to throw a curveball with their 75% dark chocolate. Each round had the chocolates laid out in the same order, and it seems like the participants chowed down on them from left to right, with Feastables being the first in line. Now, here's the thing. We're kind of left in the dark about the test's design. We're just expected to take everything at face value without any behind-the-scenes info. And that's a bit of a downer. Plus, there are no stats for us to geek out over. We're left scratching our heads when it comes to the specifics of this taste test. How many folks actually participated? And what percentage of them ended up picking Feastables? The video just gives us a glimpse of most people leaning towards Feastables, but that might not tell the whole tale. Maybe Jimmy thought it was just a quick vid and didn't bother about the nitty-gritty numbers. But wait, there's more. Let's talk about how the chocolates were laid out on the table. Turns out it had major impact on the results. Ever notice how we tend to focus more on stuff to our left? Yeah, because it's all about how we read. Our brains naturally give more attention to the things on the left side of our field of view. There's this psychological study, bear with me, it's got the most yawn-inducing name ever, that dove into this left side bias. But trust me, despite that boring name, findings were pretty darn fascinating. Alright folks, let's put this theory to the test. Take a look at your screen. You see 2 circles, A and B. Now, because English speakers read left to right, your eyes naturally gravitate towards circle A first. Then they quickly dart over to circle B, following the usual reading direction. But when you try to shift your focus back to circle A, your brain kinda hesitates. It's like, hey, I already checked there. What gives? This little mental hiccup makes your attention linger on the left side longer, subconsciously favoring anything on that side. Now here's where it gets interesting. The same test was done with Arabic speakers who read from right to left, and guess what? They showed the opposite bias, favoring the right side. So what does all this mean for the taste test? Well, it means people's attention would naturally be drawn to the far left chocolate, Feastables. And if you watch the video closely, you'll notice that most folks actually picked Feastables first. This sets the stage for a whole bunch of unconscious biases, like primacy and anchoring biases. The primary bias is all about giving more weight to the first thing you encounter in a sequence. So, since Feastables was the first chocolate tasted, it leaves a stronger impression and skews judgment in its favor. It's like love at first sight, but with chocolate. Then comes the anchoring bias. Your brain kind of latches onto the first piece of information and uses it as a reference point for everything else. So, when participants tasted the other chocolates, they kept comparing them back to Feastables, whether consciously or not. So even if a chocolate was objectively better, it was always measured against the first one tasted. But wait, there's more. Jimmy didn't just rely on Jedi mind tricks to rig this test. MrBeast's chocolates getting devoured first by the participants gave it yet another advantage, or should I say tongue up? Thanks to how our taste buds operate. You see, when we munch on something sweet, our taste buds kind of chill out, becoming less sensitive to sweetness over time. This means that everything we taste afterwards becomes less sweet. So when testers in the video kept praising Feastables for being richer or sweeter, it's not because it was objectively sweeter or superior, it's just because the taste buds had already adjusted to the sweetness of Feastables, making the other chocolates seem bland in comparison. It's like a taste bud party trick called sensory adaptation, and it can mess with all of our senses. Ever cranked up the tunes in your car only to realize later that you've been blasting your eardrums out? That's sensory adaptation in action. Your ears get used to the loudness, so when you hear the same volume again, it seems louder. Our senses are constantly adapting to the environment around us, and this concept of calibration plays a crucial role in how we perceive things. Just like how dipping your hand in hot water for a minute can make normal water feel cold in comparison, our taste buds can become accustomed to a certain level of sweetness. If we regularly consume sweet foods, our taste buds become calibrated to that level of sweetness, so when we eat something sweet again, it might not seem as sweet because it's relatively less sweet compared to what we're used to. However, if we eat something even sweeter, our taste buds will detect the increased sweetness. The same principle applies to our other senses as well, including our sense of touch and sight. For instance, our eyes can become accustomed to certain lighting conditions or colors, affecting how we perceive brightness or hues. So whether it's taste, touch, sight, hearing, or any other sense, our perception is always relative to the environment we're in and what we've experienced before. So I actually think that Feastable got a favor from that as well. So after diving deep into MrBeast taste test shenanigans, what's your take on the whole chocolate saga? Do you think Feastables truly reign supreme, or is there another chocolate contender waiting in the wings? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon for more videos. Thank you for joining us on this chocolatey journey. We'll catch you in the next one.